Hey, this is John Hope Bryan, and this is Money and Wealth. Don't you just hate it when folks talk over your head and you think it's silly to ask intelligent questions because you think somebody's going to try to embarrass you or think bad of you? There's no stupid questions. Look, God gave you two ears and one mouth, so you listen twice as much as you talk. So I asked Quincy Jones, a brother and a mentor of mine, one of the impresarios of the world in music and entertainment, the guy who essentially helped to create the global brand of Michael Jackson and so many others. I asked his brother, How'd you get so smart?" He said, "I'm just nosy as hell. I want to know everything about everything. So I want you nosy, right? A saint is a sinner that got up. Just keep getting up. Asking questions. Somebody knocks you down, get back up. Take no for vitamins and never be embarrassed ever." So we're going to unpack the economy. We're going to explain things that people say to you and around you that you may not have a clue about, and you just been too uncomfortable to ask the question. But we live in a free enterprise democracy. When you get up in the morning, if your day's not about God or love, your day's about money. So it's all around you, but you're not talking about it. You're not asking questions about it because maybe you're uncomfortable about it. So let's demystify it. Let's explain how all this stuff works. Unpacking the economy. Here we go. Take notes. Listen to this several times if you must. It's my ministry of finance. This is my weekly pulpit, breaking down how the economy and finance and money and capitalism actually works. Just for you, we're going to be PhDs and PhDs too. Take notes. Grab your notepad. Take this to your weekly fraternity and sorority meeting. Take this podcast to your weekly discussion groups. Start a weekly discussion group on silver rights, Silver, not protesting in the streets, but creating opportunity in the suites, the business suites. As Malcolm X said, we've been bamboozled, we've been tricked, we've been fooled. Let's stop that right now. And here we go. There are over 200 countries in the world, legitimate democracies. The largest economy in the world amongst those democracies, about 8 billion people, give or take. The largest economy is the United States of America. Somebody told you it's China. That is wrong. Somebody lied and told you it's Russia. Not even close. It's just not even close. Russia's a rounding error from a GDP, gross domestic product. That's, you've heard that phrase, bantied around, bantied about. Uh, GDP. GDP means gross domestic product. Basically, think about the revenue. If you own a store, it's the gross receipts, the gross economic output, gross economic activity for your store or for your barbershop. It is your income that comes into your household. You get it? Gross domestic product. So if you have these 200 plus nations in the world creating about 105 trillion dollars of GDP, gross domestic product, estimated for 2024. What are the largest economies? About 100 trillion dollars in 2023 is projected to be 105 trillion thereabouts in 2024. So I want you to guess, like, see if you can figure this out. The first thing I think people will definitely get wrong is that people tell me all the time China's bigger than the United States. Not true. They're the biggest population, 1.5 plus billion people. I think it's more than that. But they have the second largest economy in the world. First largest is the United States, about $23 trillion of the $100 trillion. China is behind the United States. And then you have who? You want to guess? So we're about, 23, 24 trillion. You've got China at about 18 trillion. Japan and Germany really dropped down well behind that. It sort of drops significantly after that. And you have Japan at about 4.2 trillion. You've got Germany. Sorry, let me back up because 22 numbers were changed in 23. United States, number one. China at 23 trillion, 24 trillion. Some people say it's 26 trillion, but I'm gonna give you conservative numbers. Uh, uh, China about 17, 18 trillion. Germany 4 trillion and change. Japan 4 trillion and change. India 3.7 trillion. United Kingdom, that's Britain, 3.3 trillion. France 3 trillion. Italy 2.2 trillion. Brazil 2 trillion and change. Canada 2 trillion and change. And then it sort of goes on from there. I'm sitting in the city of Atlanta, by the way, with 400 plus $1 billion in annual in GDP. It's one of the largest economies in the world. If it was a country, the 10th largest economy in the United States. Are you tracking me? Are you following me? Questions are all accepted here. No stupid questions here. So I'm giving you the basics. The global economy I gave you. Then I gave you where the United States is. I told you even there's about 8 billion people, give or take, in the world. I've now told you that the largest economies were, I gave you the top 10 of the largest economies in the world, right? Uh, and so now let's break down the US economy, where most of my listeners live. So you have, as part of this economy, 350 million people, give or take, about 30 million plus businesses. Of those businesses, how many of them have 10,000 employees or more? Well, you have the Fortune 500 companies, and you have about 10,000 companies. I'm sorry, you have about 1,000 companies with about 10,000 employees or more. That's a sideline. I'll come to that at another time. But most employment, my point is, comes from small business. Most employment comes from small business in this country. So if the economy is 20 plus $trillion a year, where, what is it coming from? Rich people? No, 70% of the US economy is consumer spending. That's right, 70% of the US economy is consumer spending. And 70% of all Americans are living from paycheck to paycheck. Everybody. Whether you're white, black, red, brown, or yellow, you want to have some more green. Can I get an amen? Now, for those listening to this thinking that I'm talking about so called poor people, it's time for you to wake up. Half of those who make $100,000 a year are living from paycheck to paycheck. Am I hitting home yet? You should be nodding your head. If your household has a combined income of $100,000 and you feel that you're failing, you're not. If you feel like you got too much money at the end of your money, well, that's half or more people in this country who hit your or in your economic class feel the same way. All right. So, what about the very wealthy? What about those who've got great incomes? And by the way, there's a difference between getting rich and building wealth. You make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. It's called compounding. Stocks, bonds, home ownership, businesses, investments, education, I think qualifies. But things that compound while you're sleeping. Your income, you can have a contract. This is why you can have a contract for $100 million in the NBA or whatever and go broke because you're rich, but you may not be wealthy. So when your outflow exceeds your inflow, then your overhead will be your downfall. Am I going too fast? So a third of those, I'm sorry, who make $250,000 a year are living from paycheck to paycheck. That's right. Even the wealthy are getting hit over the head. A third of those who make $250,000 a year are living from paycheck to paycheck. Now, somebody's sitting here saying, I don't care about them. I don't like the rich. Yeah, nobody hates rich people until they become, sorry, everybody hates rich people until they become rich. People say, I hate rich people. No, you don't. You hate rich people until you become rich. You hate a game system, is what you hate. You hate a system that you believe is rigged against you so that you cannot succeed. You cannot compete. You cannot make any money or build any wealth because somebody has locked you out. As soon as you know that you and others you care about can succeed, you want all in on that because you want prosperity in the way that you define it. Maybe you want to make the money and give it away, but you still want to be able to make the money. Can I get an amen? Even if you want to distribute money like a socialist, you got to first collect it like a capitalist. Drop the mic. If you're living in New York City and you're making $100,000 a year, it feels like $39,000 a year because the cost of living in New York City is higher. That's why a lot of folks move to the southern states because the cost of living is much lower, even though you may be making less than you make in New York City or in Los Angeles. If you move into a southern state, your cost of living is lower, your housing, transportation, all that stuff is lower, and your income may not be the same as it was where you moved from, but it's high enough so that your standard of living is better. Did you follow me on that? If you're spending $2 in New York and spending $2.1 more than you make, but you moved to Atlanta and you moved to wherever, Nashville, and you're spending $1, but you made $1.3. Hello, you're better off, even though you made less. Let me break some eggs around here. Now, I just talked about the larger economy. I'm going to talk now about why this is everybody's issue. Whether you're black, white, red, brown, you want some more green. Uh, about 64%, this number vacillates between 57 and 64% of all Americans don't have $400 for an unplanned event. Not poor people, everybody. Hello. So when we work with Delta Airlines at Operation Hope to design a program to give financial coaching and counseling to every one of their employees, and anybody that will raise their credit score 54 points in 6 months, lower their debt $3,800 in the first year, increase their savings for $2,200 on average. For somebody making $60,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year, that radically changes their life. And they get a reward of $1,000 emergency savings account for doing that. It goes in their account um, at Delta, and everybody wins. Well, that's program has become radically successful, amazingly successful in the first year. The vast majority of the employees have taken up the program. Sorry, half of the employees have taken up the program and are actively in it. And it's changed their mindset, their mentality, their motivation. Is made them less stressed. I've had brothers walking to me in the plane and just almost with tears in their eyes, saying that they're not arguing with their wife anymore, not wives. Hello, their wife anymore. Number one cause of divorce in America, money. Number one cause for heart attack, stress. Number one cause for stress, money. Number one cause for domestic abuse, money. Right. Number one reason why police officers get what number one cause for injuries by police officers, domestic abuse calls. What's that principally about? Typically about money at its base. What's a long protracted divorce about? Money. I did a whole podcast just on that. Go and watch that and listen to that episode. Um, why is a woman dealing with an abusive man? Money. Um, you know, I can go on and on and on. We don't want to talk about it. We want to deal with it, but it's all around us. I'll break down the day in the life of money and you in a separate episode. So money has a relationship with you, but you don't have a very good relationship with money. And so it's taking advantage of you. and you should be managing it. It should not be managing you. But you have to understand how this system actually works so that you can work it. So half of black people in America, African Americans, have a credit score below 620. Let that sink in for a moment. We have the Hope Financial Wellness Index at Operation Hope. You can go to the index on the internet, type in your zip code, and we'll tell you what your credit score is. You tell me your zip code, I'll tell you how you're living. You lived at 61 years old in a 580 credit score neighborhood. You lived at 81 years old in a 700 credit score neighborhood. 20-year delta, 20-year difference, 15 minutes apart, all across America. And whether it doesn't matter whether you're black and white, black and brown, urban or white, rural, uh, it's the same rules that apply. If you live in a 580 credit score neighborhood, you have a check casher next to a payday loan lender, next to a rent to own store, next to a title lender, next to a liquor store, next to a pawn shop, and a church down the street trying to make you feel a little bit better once a week. That's your neighborhood therapist. And meanwhile, in a single parent households and a lot of obesity and high crime rates and low home ownership rates, easiest way to build wealth is home ownership, by the way. Biggest business in the world is real estate in the world. Um, you have high school graduation rates in a 580 credit score neighborhood. Crime's off the chart, off the chain. Violent crime is off the chain. Obesity is everywhere because too many fast food restaurants. Where I don't have any problem with fast food. I love my share of McDonald's or whatever, but you shouldn't eat it every day, 3 times a day. You need fruits and vegetables and healthy food. If you're going to go to a fast food restaurant, order a salad every now and then. So, eh, because we're eating bad cheaply, we inflate, we inflame. Your body is inflamed. Most people aren't fat, they're inflamed. All right. My wife, Shatra, is an expert in financial wellness. I'm wealth, she's health. And, but these proliferate in a lot of these things proliferate in communities who have low levels of relative education and financial literacy and high levels of depression. So literally when I say if you want to change America, raise credit scores 100 points neighborhood by neighborhood. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not about the credit score. It's about the trending indicators of wealth, of hope, well-being, faith, confidence, belief, trust, all the things that parallel a rising credit score. Then you get higher access to capital, lower cost of capital in higher credit score neighborhoods. 700 credit score neighborhoods don't riot. You never seen a riot in a 700 credit score neighborhood in America's history. They don't riot, they go shopping. So now let me break some real eggs here. And it sounds like I'm picking on my black and brown brothers and sisters, but I really want us to get out of these bad habits. So I just talked to you about um, the largest economy in the world, the U.S. economy. There's 8 billion people. There's 350 million people in America. It's amazing that the U.S. is this behemoth, this amazing economy on the planet is us, and we are just killing it. And with a very small population, it's just a great story of what freedom can do. With all our problems, and we have plenty of them, we still are a beacon and a light on the hill. I talked about 30 million businesses about within that. And about 3 million black businesses, 3.1 million black businesses within that group. But 96% of them don't have an employee. Hello, I'll do a separate podcast just on that. Operation Hope, through our partnership with Shopify, is creating, and others are creating 1 million Black Business Initiative is creating Black businesses. We've helped, nurtured, supported, created over 400,000. That's 12% of all Black businesses in America. So I'm proud of that. But most of those most of the companies don't have employees or self-employment projects. And I've already mentioned that the average credit score for African Americans is 620, which means half of us wake up in the morning locked out of the free enterprise system. You can't get a decent car loan at 620. If you get a Mercedes, it's not a Mercedes, it's Mercedes payments. You can't get a decent mortgage at 620. It needs to be about 700. You definitely can't get a small business loan below 700 credit score because it's considered risky credit. You can't get you can't get unsecured credit, lines of credit in the low 600s. You need a proper credit score. If you have a 700 to an 800 credit score, the computer on balance just that you're applying for just says yes. It doesn't care what color you are, where you live. It's like, yes, I want you to be my client. It just, the computer just says yes. No, the color's green. Hello. So go to Hope Financial go to Operation Hope, get a Hope Financial coach. It's free. 16 uh, uh, $1 billion, by the way, is what racism cost the economy in 2020 to blacks alone. Citigroup report proved that racism against blacks alone costs the U.S. economy. I'm not sorry, my bad. That was trillion. Cost the U.S. economy $16 trillion. The whole economy is only 23 trillion. Racism against blacks alone, according to a Citigroup report, costs the U.S. economy $16 trillion. And if we just knock it off, we stop it, the U.S. economy would surge $1 trillion a year. That's a big bump. So here's the egg I'm going to break. Now, going the other direction of how we shoot ourselves in the foot in the black community. You have this $23 trillion economy, this rocket ship. African Americans, call it 40 million black people, give or take, trying to be 3,000 rappers and 3,000 football and basketball players. And I mean, it's just, the numbers don't work. Yes, we're brilliant, we're talented, but I can't scale an entertainment icon. I can't scale a sports icon. I can't scale LeBron. I can't scale Magic Johnson. I can't scale T.I. and my friends, T.I. and Killer Mike and all these people, Chris Tucker. I can't scale. These are iconic Oprah. These are individuals, and maybe they employ 20, 30, 40 people, maybe. How do you get 40 million people into the economy? Here's what we've done. We've micro focused on things like entertainment and sports. All good. I'm not telling you not to do it. But here are the numbers. I like to quote Melody Hobson. I like math because it doesn't have an opinion. Here's the math of the matter. And here's why I keep telling you I want you to have a backup plan to your dreams. And I need your backup plan to be your primary plan. Okay, 23 trillion. I've said this enough to drive it into your brain. $23 trillion US economy. What part of that do you think is music? Not black music, country, blues, rock and roll, R&B, all genres of music, all of them, everything rolled up together of a $23 trillion economy. I want you to tell me, people talk about this all day and all night. Everybody I know, not everybody, but all the young people I know, lots of them, wants to be rappers, singers, whatever. They want to be rocking the mic. They want to be a star. Okay, what part of that is what part? You're a smart person. What part of that would you guess is part of the U.S. economy? $23 trillion. I'll wait. Think about it now. There's no shame. There's no embarrassment here. All right. You ready? About $16 billion, which is 0.07%. It's such a small number, I've got to say this slowly. $16 billion is 0.07%. So 1% would be 1.00, just to give you a sense, all right? 10% would be 10.00. The music business, all genres, all music, white, black, Latino, Asian, everything, 0.07%. And then they say, well, the impact of the music business has this knock-on effect of 10x, 10 times, because of all the industries that feed off the music business. So it's 160 billion. Okay, that number is not large. So that's the music business. The entertainment business is also about 160 billion dollars, right? Another business that is at that same range is professional sports. Now, this is not just football, basketball, baseball, soccer, the ones you watch. All levels of professional sports together combined is $160 billion a year. That's 0.70%. Again, 1% would be 1.00. This is less than 1%. So you have everybody I know, all young people trying to push all their dreams into something that's a micro fraction of the annual US economy. So where is all the money? And by the way, and even in those areas, who's getting the money? It's lawyers, accountants, business managers. Oh, okay. I'm glad we said that. Rental companies. I'm gonna get if you're gonna be in the entertainment business, rent lenses. Yes, I said lenses. Like the when you go to a video shoot, they don't buy all that equipment. They rent it. There are there are cameras that you can that are worth $200,000, $70,000, $50,000. There are lenses worth $70,000. Anyway, these are very precise, all the way down to $5,000, $10,000. Yes, rent those things because those companies buy rent those on the regular basis. All these companies doing shoots of videos and movies and whatever and TV shows. They most of those companies, unless you're a big studio, they rent that equipment. They rent that gear. I want to be in the rental business. I want to rent the mic, rent the video cameras that I own to these companies. That's a business to be in, right? Think about everything on a movie set. Yeah, be in that business. So being a support, the catering businesses, the trailer ownership and rental business, the trailer truck pulling business. I mean, think about it now. The engineers, all the businesses that support uh, the entertainment and sports sectors. I don't want to rock a mic on the stage. I want to own the dang on stage. Can I get an amen? So let's look at a group that actually has done this in reverse. So you have 40 million people trying to get in these 3,000 jobs that are going to turn over at 3 to 5 years. By the way, 70% of all those in NFL bankrupt with 5 years after retirement. 70%, give or take, of those in the NBA, the numbers are about the same. Bankrupt or run into financial difficulties 5 years after retirement. Don't trust me, look up the numbers yourself. I'm not hating on these roles. I love that we have these jobs, but once you are a professional athlete or a rapper or one of these, and that runs out, and you don't have a degree in the things that drive the U.S. economy, what do you do for the rest of your life? You're an athlete from age 20 to age 23. We hope you live to 100, at least to 70 or 80. What are you gonna do for the other 40 to 50 years? Be a postman? If you want to, work at Starbucks if you want to. I mean, what do you qualify for? You need a degree in something that has technical skills tied to it that's not easy to replace, that gives you a middle class lifestyle when the party is over, of the exciting thing that you want to grab a hold of in the here and now. Because anyway, enough on that. I've been obsessing about that. Let me back up for a minute and give a wider lens. What is a group? So if you have 40 million people, black people, trying to do these micro jobs that don't last very long, um, then what's a group that has the opposite of that? Well, you have my Jewish brothers and sisters, 7.5 million of them in America, who are in these broad-based professions in industries. Entertainment, yes, but they're typically the back room of the entertainment. Finance, banking, real estate, medical, creative spaces. They're in these broad-based industries, basically the entire economy. Okay, so let me tell you what's driving the economy. All right, and then my Asian brothers and sisters, Indians, trying to be. A lot of them are engineers in the technical spaces. Okay, um, so in the vast portion of mainstream whites who are middle class or more are in the category I'm about to tell you about. So the big buckets of American economy: healthcare, 10% of the U.S. economy or more. If you want to talk about healthcare, wellness, medical, broadly based, then that's probably a third of the U.S. economy. Finance and banking, real estate. I just gave you, and if you say the professional services area, like accountants and lawyers and bankers and financiers and engineers and business managers, hello, all those professional expertise groups, computer technicians, etc. That's the vast majority of the economy. Real estate, banking, finance, and healthcare and professional services represent 70% of the entire economy. And people say, oh man, that's boring. Is broke boring? Because that's what you'll be if you don't understand what you see. And then you have other groups that are larger than entertainment and sports, but are smaller than professional services, banking, real estate, finance, and healthcare, and they include uh, uh, goods producing industries like agriculture, manufacturing, mining, and construction, amongst others. So we're demystifying the economy here. We're unpacking this. I'm telling you how the economy works and who and what is driving the economy. I'm telling you how you can participate in it, um, and where you should look. By the way, the biggest industry in the world, real estate. So if you want to make sure you don't want to, if you want to build generational wealth, there there are two things. Make sure I get this right. There are two industries, sectors that have never gone down in the history of America: real estate and the stock market. Now, somebody's going to say, John, I got you now. Stock market crashed in 1929 and market crashed again this time and that time. And the market was down even after the pandemic, John. And real estate crashed in 2008. What rock were you under? And what do you know? This is now we got you, John. This is wrong. Eh. Real estate goes up. There's a market correction, recession, even dips, it stabilizes, corrects above the line. Get that? Market real estate goes up and the stock market goes up. Market correction, real estate recession, maybe a recession to recede. That's what a recession means, for an economy to recede, to go backwards. Market goes up, recedes, recession, balances out, catches itself, catches its breath, and then corrects above the line on its rebound. And when it corrects above that line, that's when people go from doing well to doing incredibly well. That's where wealth comes from. You build wealth in your sleep. You have to own equities. You've got to own stocks, bonds, business ownership, real estate. You got to own something that is tangible and real. Income is during the day. You build wealth in your sleep. Uh, you make your money during the day. You make your money work. You make your money work for you at night. Okay, I think I've done a good job of of summarizing the overall economy. You'll tell me if I didn't. Here are the largest economies in the world. I'm gonna run through them. And by the way, there's never been a global economy. There was never been a global so America is the sole superpower in the world. There's never been a superpower in the world that wasn't at the same time the leading economic power in the world. So Spain was a superpower. France was a superpower. Germany was a superpower. Hello, Argentina was a superpower. Latin America giving its props. I've missed them. I'm doing this by memory. Um, and at the same time, they were the political superpower. They were also the UK. Britain was a superpower. I'm people are start trying to correct me now. You missed this one, John. I'm doing this from memory. How about you? How's your memory? Right? All this whole podcast was basically by memory. I'm just telling you what I know. Uh, and but when their economy tripped up, they tripped up. Okay, and America is now the sole superpower in the world. We're also the leading economy in the world, and so we got to keep this party going. And the only way you do that is with all of us. Or put another way, my rich friends need my poor friends to do better if only to stay rich. Even a racist needs a black man to succeed so that he prospers or she prospers, because when the economy grows, all boats rise. When GDP, gross domestic product, increases. Here are the largest economies in the world. Ready? I've already mentioned this. What's number one? Hello, the United States. Two, China. Three, Germany. Four, Japan. They keep changing places, by the way, Germany and Japan. They're in the $4 trillion club. Above that is big jumps. China at 17 trillion, America at 23 to 26 trillion, depending on which numbers you look at. India, 3.7 trillion. United Kingdom, Britain, 3.3 trillion. France, 3 trillion. Italy, 2.1 trillion. Brazil, 2.1 trillion. The Americas, Latin America. I think I've hit every continent here. Um, in the top 10. Canada, 2.1 trillion. Russia, 1.8 trillion. Remember I told you Russia was a rounding error. America's 20 plus trillion, Russia's 1.8 trillion. Hello, they just make a lot of noise through threats and terrorism and barbarism. Got they? I mean, just they. There are four troublemakers in the world, leading troublemakers: Russia, with all due respect, China, Iran, and North Korea. And I'll give China its props. If China would just simply give its people freedom and stop cheating at capitalism, I might like and start saying nice things about them and stop trying to undermine America through disinformation and cheating at the game of success. We don't mind a fair fight, but you can't win. I'm convinced no one can beat America in a fair fight. You got to cheat. So they're trying to undermine America because we are only better together. Another podcast for another time. But God bless the success of the Chinese people who I want to be successful. The 12th largest economy in the world. You'll be surprised to hear this. Mexico, right behind Russia, 1.8 trillion. South Korea, 1.7 trillion. Australia, 1.6 trillion. Spain, 1.5 trillion. Indonesia, 1.4 trillion. Turkey, 1.1 trillion. Saudi Arabia, 1.1 trillion. Thought that were larger, didn't you? Thought Saudi Arabia was larger than that. I was in Saudi Arabia when it was 800 billion. They've jumped a few steps. Now the Netherlands, 1 trillion. Now we're jumping into the billions now. Switzerland, 900 billion. Poland, this is position 21, 840 billion. Taiwan, 750 billion. Belgium, 627 billion. Argentina, this was the largest economy in the world at one point, 620 billion. They've got all kind of problems now. They're working through them. Sweden, 590 billion. Ireland, 589 billion. Norway, love that place. My friend Crown Prince Haakon helps to run that place. The future king, 550 billion. Austria, 526 billion. Israel, 521 billion. Thailand, 512 billion. And by the way, Israel, there's only like 15 million Jews in the world. It's amazing what they've done. 7.5 million Jews outside the U.S. and 7.5 million Jews here. Don't hate on their success. Follow their business plan for creating business and economic growth. Uh, I go so far as to say I think Black folks need a Black Jewish business plan with regard to getting, how do you come up when you're an oppressed people? I think it's a good template. By the way, half of the whites who supported Dr. King in the civil rights movement were Jewish. Hello. Um, and then it goes from there. Number 30, Thailand, 500 billion. Now, when you get down into the mid 400 billions, Philippines 430, well, Vietnam 433 billion, Philippines 435 billion. Guess what country is at that same level? Egypt, by the way, 398 billion. Hong Kong, 385 billion. South Africa, 380 billion. Iran, 366 billion. But let's go back up again. Let's go back up to the 430 billion level, which is the Philippines and Vietnam. What country also is at that level? Well, John, you just mention these are countries. Yes, I did. Good catch. It's a city. It's Atlanta. The city, the metro Atlanta, greater Atlanta, the metro area of Atlanta, the 7 counties represent $400 plus billion in annual revenue. The moral capital of America, and the place where we've proven that diversity works for everybody, inclusive capitalism for everybody. The 10th largest economy in the U.S. If it was a nation, would be the largest economy in the world. And I'll end with, what is the GDP for Black people? What is African American GDP? What is our economic spending power for last year? It's 1.6. I want to just check real quickly. $1.6 trillion was the GDP. If we were a nation of $1.6 trillion, so we'd be almost larger than Russia. Unfortunately, the Black dollar doesn't circulate in the Black community. Unfortunately, 90% plus of what we make, we spend on consumption. Unfortunately, we only 45% of us own a home. And the easiest way to build wealth is home ownership. Unfortunately, 96% of us Our Black businesses don't have an employee, as I mentioned earlier. So you see, we're not dumb and we're not stupid. We're brilliant. When the rules are published and the playing field is level, we kill it. Professional sports, athletes, entertainment, public office. Where the rules are published and the playing field is level, we absolutely succeed. But because the Freedmen's Bank was created after the Civil War by Abraham Lincoln and ran by Frederick Douglass, a freed slave who became a brilliant businessman who owned $6 million worth of real estate in Baltimore, Maryland, during the Civil War period, and rented it out to working class blacks. By the way, the same business that I'm in with one of my companies, the Promise Homes Company, affordable single family rental homes. I sold the company, but I still am a shareholder in it. That's the business that Frederick Douglass was in. And that bank, the Freedmen's Bank, chartered March 3rd, 1865, to quote, teach freed slaves about money. That bank failed after Lincoln was assassinated a month after he signed it in the law. And blacks were never taught about the free enterprise system. We're not dumb and we're not stupid. Is what we don't know that we don't know, but we think we know, because no one ever gave us the memo. That's my fourth book, I think, on how the free enterprise system and capitalism works. That's why I say that financial literacy is a civil rights issue of this generation. And we've got to move from protesting in the streets to cutting business deals in the business suites. The new color is not white, black, red, brown, or yellow. It's green. Hello. All right. I've talked enough for one day. This is the Ministry of Hope, the Ministry of Finance. This is the Civil Rights Movement. This is the Third Reconstruction. This is how we all come up. This is my weekly pulpit for all of us. This is me trying to unpack how things work. This is me unpacking the overall economy. If I miss something you want me to focus on, then just tell me what it is and I will break it down for you. By the way, I got one number wrong. The entertainment industry is about $1 trillion a year in annual GDP, about 4.4% of all GDP. Professional sports was, I got this right, 0.0 or 0.70%. That was 160 billion. And music, all genres of music, was 0.07%. And that's about 16 billion, with a knock-on effect, if you will, of all the, if you want to say, of how it's healthy for all the other businesses that support music. Really liberal about it, you can say it's 100 billion plus, but it's still a small number. But entertainment, which is really tourism, and there's a lot of hospitality, there's a lot of things in that number, not just rocking the mic. Entertainment, in quotation marks, is the largest of the industries we actually obsess on for, but it's still 4% of GDP for the nation. So be an engineer, you'll never go broke. Get in real estate, unless you're brain dead or not paying attention, you can't help but do well. It'll go up by itself over time. Buy it, rehab it, rent it, or live in it. Don't sell it, and things should work out for you. Own a little stocks, own a little bit of bonds and stocks, and have an insurance policy for you and your family. I mean, just some basic stuff. If you have an insurance policy, by the way, the insurance policy 20, 30, 40 years of age, when you get married or set out in life, when you get it for $1 million, you can get one pretty easily at a young age. It won't cost you much. And when you kick, and we don't know how long we're going to live, but we all know we're going to die. When you kick, that becomes, and have a will, that becomes something you can pass the proceeds, pass on to your heirs, your children, your spouse, and give them some generational wealth on the way out the door. I hope this is helpful. This is John O'Brien, Money and Wealth. Let's go change the world.